Welcome, everybody. I see some new faces, I see some familiar faces, and for those of you I have not yet had the privilege of meeting, my name is Sarah Rosen and I lead product marketing here at Notable. I am delighted to be your MC for this event. What a setting, right? Some of you may have heard the calls of the bagpipe, played a little bit of golf, noticed the craggy cliffs. This resort is actually known as Scotland by the Bay, but I want to offer you a different connection to Scotland. Being away from the office, from our families, our routine, I want to acknowledge that is not an insignificant amount of effort. This setting, the idea of stepping away reminds me of a fictionalized exchange between Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and Princess Margaret in The Crown. Any fans of The Crown out there? I had a feeling with So the Iron Lady, as it goes in this fictionalized exchange, is invited to Balmoral, which is the Scottish home of the royal family. And of course, she approaches this with a fair amount of trepidation. Her work is her life. And she says to Princess Margaret, and I will not attempt the accent, "Time off gives me no pleasure." To which Princess Margaret doesn't miss a beat and responds, "It might give you something more important than that, perspective." Perspective is so important, yet it is so easy to lose sight of. The days can be a grind. If you are here in this room at Noteworthy, that means you are trying to do something really, really hard, working through gnarly operational challenges that are simply prerequisites to transformation. Whether it is trying to convince your docs to open up their schedule or rationalize, hundreds of appointment templates, or stand up new governance for AI, or to actually just get your frontline staff to do their work differently, or to unlearn some old habits, let's admit it, it can be exhausting. But while we're here together, in some cases, thousands of miles away from home, I'd encourage you to put aside the to-do list. Embrace the distance. Give yourselves the space to reconnect to why we all do what we do, to think freely, to connect with others literally going through the same exact challenges. This is precisely why we are here together at Noteworthy. So this morning, in just a moment, you're going to hear from my colleague, Dr. Aaron Neinstein, who is our Chief Medical Officer, about his journey and what brought him here to this moment at Notable. After that, we'll hear from our co-founder and CEO, Pranay Kapadia, and he'll talk about the journey that we have all been on together. You all have made some incredible progress since we were all together last year in another fantastic setting. And he will also talk about what's changed, which is the immense opportunity that faces us for AI to catapult our industry forward. And last, but certainly not least, I'll invite Brian Sheets up here, Executive Director of MIT Medical, and I will have the privilege of interviewing him, and we'll learn about some of his reflections about the journey he's been on with Notable and how AI is fundamentally changing patient and staff experiences. And with that, I'd like to welcome on Dr. Neinstein.
Thanks, everybody. Well, this is weird. A year ago, I would have been sitting out in the chairs there, just like you, up until a few months ago. Last 10 years spent at UCSF in clinical informatics, most recently vice president of digital health there, also a practicing physician in endocrinology. So I've been there doing the hard work of implementing and optimizing EHRs. I've been there the one to spend my nights, my weekends, building out every prescription medication in our EHR, every order set preparing for go live. I've been there having to be the one to stand in front of a room full of angry surgeons telling them, sorry, you can't scribble your notes on a piece of paper anymore, but you're going to have to use the EHR. And we certainly don't want to go backward, right? I can now actually read people's notes, although ophthalmology, I still have no idea what they're talking about. I can see lab results from all over the country. And yet, even while we've digitized healthcare workflows, if you look around at our staff, our caregivers, patients, families, they're still bogged down by manual work. And you just have to walk around any of our organizations and you see people who are feeling frustrated, burnt out, exhausted. So I was actually in my clinic a few weeks ago, and one of our best front desk people, who's been there 15, 20 years, pulled me aside into the back office, and she said, Aaron, I need you to stop sending us follow-up requests and tickets to request that patients get follow-up appointments. I was like, why would I do that? She said, well, every time you do that, it creates a new work queue item for our team, and we're hundreds of items behind and backed up, and we can't keep up anymore. I also recently spoke with a revenue cycle leader at a hospital system in the South. Her team was responsible for processing all of the prior auths for patients with cancer for the health system. She, a year ago, had a team of 8 people. They were the most sophisticated, experienced people in the organization, understanding how to deal with the maze of paperwork and requirements to get authorization. But like everyone else, the economic challenges and staff turnover have led to a place now. She has several vacancies on her team. The average tenure is under a year. And hearing her talk, you could hear the pain in her voice as she described the team just with this mounting pile of work queue items and authorizations. And she knew that each row in that work queue that was overwhelming them was a patient waiting to get their chemotherapy for their cancer. So that's what these next few years are about. We have the opportunity to move from digitization to automation, because digitizing a workflow still means that you're creating a work queue item for a staff person. You might have moved the prior auth from a piece of paper to electronic, but it's still in your staff work queue. It still takes them time to complete. And with automation, we shrink the work queues. We reduce the amount of time spent by staff across your organization. We also have the opportunity to move and advance from digitization to personalization, because in many places, digitizing the pre-appointment workflow still means we're handing people the clipboard. We might have moved the clipboard from a piece of paper to electronic, but we're still asking them the exact same questions that they get frustrated by and hate us asking. Personalization means we can actually tailor care recommendations to people's individualized needs. We can send them personalized outreaches and nudges that are uniquely tailored to them. So I want to share this story with you all. It's something that's pretty hard to talk about, especially on stage. This is one of the hardest things that I've had to do in my career. So over the last 6+ years at UCSF, one of our main areas of focus was actually trying to develop touchless new patient access, all the way from the fax, hitting the fax machine to the patient being in the specialist office, and trying as much as we could to reduce effort for the staff and to reduce friction for patients. And we got really close. We almost got there. One piece of this that we did is we built custom software that would actually ingest faxes and fax documents and pull the referral information into the EHR. It actually worked great. Our administrators loved it. Our staff loved using it. It helped us serve more patients and faster. But last year, we made the difficult, painful decision to turn it off and shut it down. So why did we do that? Well, as one health system, even something the magnitude of UCSF, we couldn't scale the benefit of this custom software large enough to justify the cost of us to build, support, and maintain it ourselves. But one axiom that I live by is to fall in love with the problem and be flexible with the solution. So I did. I met Notable, and I saw a company that had the platform and the technology capabilities to actually deliver this vision of touchless, end-to-end patient access at scale. And I followed Notable's progress for more than 2 years, actually, before I decided to join the company. Now, there's a phenomenon you're all familiar with after making a major life decision called buyer's remorse, right? You probably last time you walked off of a car lot, you may remember what that feels like. So a lot of people have asked me about this since I joined a few months ago, and I've felt the exact opposite since I've joined Notable. And so over the next 24 hours and hopefully over the past 24 hours, while you're going to hear us talk a lot about AI, about intelligent automation, you're also going to learn a lot about who Notable is as a company, just like I have over the last few months. You're going to find a company that's full of empathy and respect for the healthcare partners that we work with and your unique needs. You're going to find a company that's full of curiosity and full of humility. You're going to find a company that's rigorous in our attention to detail. You're going to find a company that is pragmatic, right? We're in an industry full of flash and sizzle and hype, but we're focused on solving the pain points that are facing you today in your organizations. You're also going to see a company that has just the right amount of audacity and impatience, because moving healthcare forward together requires that. So before I pull him up on stage, I want to share with you a little bit about who our CEO is. So when I first met Pranay about 2 years ago, he said, "Come work for Notable." And I said, "Okay, Pranay. I'm not ready yet. I really am happy in my role at UCSF, but I'll think about it." And he said, "That's okay. Just call me back when you're ready. We're in this for the long haul." And that's exactly the kind of person and the company and the mindset that I'm proud to be a part of at Notable. Because changing healthcare for the better isn't something that happens in a day or a month or a quarter, but over the course of years. And changing healthcare for the better requires a dogged persistence. And so that's exactly the kind of person that I'm thrilled to introduce up on stage and pull him up here, who sets that tone and sets that mindset for us at Notable, our co-founder and CEO, Pranay Kapadia.
Thank you, Aaron. We are honored and humbled to have you join us on this journey. So my name is Pranay Kapadia. They call me the CEO of the company. The only fact is me and my co-founders, Adam and Justin, founded this years ago when we discovered that healthcare has an issue. Now, you all know these problems. They aren't new. But there are changes that have happened over the last 8+ years. 8 years ago, when we actually sat around a holiday table with my family of physicians, they complained about being the highest paid data collectors in the world. And we said, wouldn't it be cool if we could actually study how the data flows from a patient all the way to a payer and back? And we found it took 22 to 35 sets of hands per claim that was actually going through, from a patient scheduling an appointment, the phone call, all the way down to receiving an EOB and wondering whether that's a bill that they have to pay or not. We also saw this slide, this image that you all know about. Now, it turns out it's actually not the right chart. It turns out physicians are overwhelmed, yes. But the admin growth is not really what we've been thinking about. The admin growth was the number of people that surround the physician. So we actually wanted to look at, what does it actually look like for the work that goes on around each and every physician? And what we found was fascinating. What we found was this. These people aren't in the physician's periphery. They're not actually around. But they're doing work on behalf of getting that patient access. They're doing work on helping support the providers perform at top of license. And it was call centers. Who here loves the fax machine? I do. It got the job done. And so we started to dig a little bit deeper. And what we found, which is interesting, we were actually studying what is the admin burden per RVU, and what data could we actually get access to support that. And it turns out, we all know regulatory capture and how EHRs have actually digitized electronic health records, or health records in general, as Aaron mentioned. But what we found, which was fascinating, was the amount of people that are actually hired per 1,000 patients that a provider sees goes up and up and up. If you actually look at MGMA or AMGA, every 5 to 7 years, they recommend one additional human body around a clinician. That is baffling. And we all tend to actually benchmark ourselves against our peers, and we say, well, if that's what they recommend, we should add another body, and then we complain about the margins around it. The crazy story is 8 years ago when we actually started to look at this and study this data. Actually, there's no data post-2018 that we could actually find, but you all know your own ratios, and you'll hear about some later today. The crazy story was when we actually discovered this problem as engineers, as product designers, as entrepreneurs, we loved it. And we start to talk to partners. And I'll never forget this conversation. There was a CEO of an organization that sat me down and said, "This is cute. Automation is nice. Personalized patient experience would be great to have. We're healthcare. We're a people business. I'm never going to run out of employees. I never have an issue hiring people. And whether we want them or not, patients are going to show up at our door." I kid you not, that was the quote. We persevered. We believed, because we wanted to actually build something that we could use ourselves as patients. What we discovered, though, was everyone's adopted the EHR. Everyone has digitized their health record, but it still turns out 85% of all of that data is unstructured. We took the fax and we made an e-fax. We took the phone call and we added an IVR. And so my second question, who here has added to a work queue, has worked in a work queue? Who here loves work queues? This is insanity. And so when we work with our partners, for those of you that were here last year, we love to say this is our mission, but it's not just the notable mission. We come together collectively to simplify and optimize healthcare for humanity. Not just for your local markets, not just for a specific type of patient, but for humanity. And over the last year, I want to celebrate some of the work that we've actually done together against this mission. I'll share a couple of stats. Legally, we're only allowed to say that those jobs were unfilled with North Kansas City and Meritas Hospital. But these are jobs that we could actually repurpose in different ways because of the work that was done in not just technology, but the transformation of operations as well. Our partners at Presbyterian who are here actually pushed that change through to be able to go live on Epic with machine learning models for HCC suspecting within 4 days of getting access. Think about that for a second. When was the last time that you saw technology going through that quickly? Our partners at MUSC Health have done some very unique things to their notification structure in actually building these out to reduce no-shows for specific markets. Sanford, and you'll actually talk to them and hear from them later, with their access teams changing the ratios with how many resources are needed at the front desk with regards to rev cycle and more. We've got people from Southeast Georgia Health System. You've got Catholic Health, and you'll hear from them around how they've been able to avoid phone calls pre and post a visit. With Montage Health, you actually heard from Aaron about his challenges with referrals. This one is so cool. I encourage you all to spend time with the team. 20% of their entire referrals are touchless, from fax to scheduling, no phone call needed. And they've built it. It's pretty amazing. And then they've also fundamentally changed from 21 days from the time that a referral was actually scheduled to, I believe it's 3.6 days now, which is a massive jump. And then there's certain places where technology can actually only do things not just better than a human, but then a lot of humans that you couldn't even hire. And so with our partners at Montefiore, we're actually having our models scrub their charts, and they've actually set it up in a way in partnership with Epic to actually mine their charts for structured data in a way that was never possible before. And then with Intermountain and Castell, in the work that we're actually doing with them with their population health efforts, their digitization efforts across the board to actually help deliver better care. Now, these are all stats that give you a wide variety of different use cases and solutions that we've actually supported. But this is the coolest part that I'm excited about. We don't do this ourselves. Last year, we actually exposed Flow Studio to many of you. For those of you that are net new, Flow Studio is actually the platform we use internally to build out our solutions. And so we started to bring our partners on board for this, and we now have way more Flow Studio users across all of your organizations actually building and working inside of the Notable platform, utilizing it, than we have employees. What's really cool about this is some of the use cases. We actually had a partner take all of their patient-facing experience and translate it to Portuguese without talking to us and actually pushing that out. We had MUSC actually help us with what their notification scheme should be so that we could actually consolidate notifications to patients that were coming in across weeks in different ways, across different practices. And so each of these things is actually built by us collectively, not just Notable. And I just want to say a big, big, big thank you. So I want all of you to give your teams a round of applause that have actually been doing this, because it's not easy. And then it comes down to the human connection. 8 years ago, we were cute. It was nice. Nobody wanted to actually automate anything. We have now collectively impacted 32 million lives in some which way. You will hear stories of friends, of family, of ourselves, where we've actually changed people's lives and helped save lives in ways we never thought possible when we first started. All of this feedback streams in for the entire company to see, and we make this available through Flow Studio for you all. And this is like probably the best delight every Saturday. The team knows I go through this diligently, and I start tagging them on things that aren't working. And every so often you see something that will bring a tear to your eye. You actually got someone that was visually impaired to be able to access care. You got someone in faster, and suddenly it makes the work that much more valuable. Proud to say, thanks to all of our partnerships, we're now at over 5,000 sites of care in almost every state in this country, and growing. And then the other part of it that is actually really cool is we have now collectively hit a milestone of automating over 1 million tasks that humans used to do on a daily basis. Think about that as a phone call, a form, an item in a work queue. This is really cool. And this number is actually growing exponentially as we go forward. And so the question on everyone's mind is, okay, well, we've gotten here, what's next? And everyone says the hottest term in town, and we're in Silicon Valley, is AI. It's AI, 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 AI. Now is the moment. You look in the news and you all are getting bombarded with AI. What's really cool about this, and we were sitting in a session yesterday, and there was a push on everyone is using AI for physician voice. And DAX is the coolest thing out there. But none of them have actually figured out how to scale it. And the reality is we actually worked in voice. We have a history in voice. From a first principles perspective, though, the number of patients are growing. You can help your physicians. And my family physician was like, okay, we can help you chart faster. And they're like, okay, so I feel like a faster hamster. I'm just going to run faster because the next thing you're going to ask me to do is see more patients. And so we want to challenge that. We actually want to think about the problems differently than what some of these large companies are actually telling us we have to go do. So you all are here because AI is a thing. You all are actually noteworthy change makers. But you go back, and what do you hear? Well, yeah, it's cool, but it's science fiction. I wouldn't actually do any of that. It's all hype. Those Silicon Valley kids are going to tell you what to do. Best of all, it's dangerous. Who here has heard these? Or at least some version of this internally? All the time, every day. And we're in healthcare. Oh, we're the most risk averse. We're so compliant. We've got all these issues. You don't want to kill anyone. The crazy thing about this is so is electricity. Can you imagine being Edison or Tesla trying to tell the world like there's this zappy technology that could kill people that would actually change the world? So this is actually an article from the New York Tribune that was put out there to actually help instrument and inform the world what problems electricity can actually help solve. It says 1920. Electric light, where wanted. The cool thing and the fun part that I love is that looks so much like Clippy. Electric refrigeration. Electric printing. Adequate illumination, meaning increased efficiency and safety. Now, I don't know how many of you were around then, so you're like, oh, I don't know how long that transition took. Maybe people actually, it took 40 years for electricity to get everywhere, and so we'll be on the same journey with AI, and we don't have to do anything tomorrow. Well, here's another one. In our lifetime, I was chatting with a CEO recently, and he was like, oh, do I need a chief AI officer? And I was like, that's a fascinating topic. And then he looked at me and he was like, oh, but maybe I also need a chief electricity officer. And that would be the next CEO title that you could actually have. But the crazy thing is this has actually existed across the board. And so there's a video that I'd love to actually play now, just in terms of what we as society thought the internet was not so long ago. Can we roll the video?
Well, as I mentioned, I have no desire to be a part of the internet because I feel like I'm so inundated with information all the time that I don't want more. Don't you ever feel like it's just constant bombardment?
I don't know. I guess the thing I'd resent most is I would resent that, at least when you're home, if the phone rings, you have the option of not answering it. On the internet, people can send you messages all the time people you don't even want to hear from.
So we're going to not adopt AI because it's dangerous. We're going to turn off our lights and throw away our phones. Here we go. We have some of the best engineers you will find in the industry. And we sweat the details on all of these things, but there's one fundamental place that we start as a company, which is everything we do focuses on the job to be done. And so when we actually look at it, before electricity, what was the job to be done? It was cleaning a home. Post-electricity, we got a lot more efficient with how that actually happened. Fast forward, we actually have robots doing that now without needing the human involvement. Let's talk about entertainment pre-electricity. There'd be someone like me up on stage dancing for you all. And it would be a big outing. Now, we still do that, but that's actually now come to us. And it's the TV, and now it's on our phone, and very soon it'll be a visor around our head. Fun fact, it's actually the same resolution as this screen will be what's on your face starting early next year. And then you look at factory, producing goods and services. These were pedal, mechanical work, moving things around, which then actually moved to a factory line. Now, the cool thing about these three examples, and we picked them on purpose, was if we took you straight to the autonomous Tesla factory, the first response is, oh, but we're not that cool yet. So we started 30 years ago, and you still see how things actually change pretty drastically. Here's my favorite one. Who did music catalog? Who even knows what this is? Columbia has catalog. You get it, you fill out what you want, you mail it in, and then you wait 6 to 8 weeks to check to see if you actually got the cassette tapes. There's a wonderful thing on the side that actually says you can get the LP, the 8-track cartridge, the tape cassette, or the reel-to-reel tape. And here we are. It's in the palm of our hands. It's electricity. It's the internet that changes how the job to be done is performed in a way that's so much more efficient. And so we here ask ourselves, and we challenge you all, if the job to be done was to eliminate the phone call, the fax queue, the work queues, to provide better care for us as mere mortals, to those that we love. Is it AI? Is it electricity? Is it compute? Because the crazy thing is, we have been using AI for all of the work that we do together since the day this company started. Our partners at Common Spirit, I think there's some of them here today, when we gave them a demo of just our OCR machine vision capabilities 4.5 years ago, their front desk staff broke into tears. And the reason for the tears was, she's like, does this mean I don't have to scan and key in insurance cards into my EHR for 6 hours a day? Because that's not why I got into healthcare. And so I push on, what's the job to be done that can elevate humanity? Our caregivers, the partners that we work with, such that we as mere mortals don't have to spend $1.1 trillion as a society on phone calls, faxes, and work queues. And that's what we at Notable do in how we actually transform that. We look to adopt the greatest technologies we can find and build internally to solve people problems. We look to do it in a way that is intuitive, that's intelligent and unique to actually eliminate the work and transform the industry. Because it's not just the technology. That's just part of it. It's also the people that actually go into making that happen. Crystal, I got your permission to use this. The part here is, this is a big mission to go after. And a fun fact about our values, very early on, we as a team actually sat down to talk about company values, and we probably spent 2 hours talking about some terrible values that we discovered from other Silicon Valley companies. Do no evil and what have you. We just nixed them all, and we said, let's just talk about stories about our team of what they've actually done that inspired us. As we've gone along on this journey with partners like Crystal and others, we get to collectively redefine what's possible. Something that you'll hear from us over and over as we partner. Sometimes, often, folks will actually complain that we're actually wanting to move really fast and iterate, but that's a passion we have. You're in healthcare, you can't do anything for technology's sake, and so we obsess over the outcomes. And many of you have taught us in how we can actually track that and get better at those outcomes every single day. The only people that are successful within our company are those that are completely humble, that have childlike curiosity every single day, and we're not the company that will just come to you and tell you it's our way or the highway, or a new acronym that I learned yesterday called YOYO, which is you're on your own. And then lastly, when we actually do win or fail, we celebrate the journey. I just couldn't wear that hat and look as good, but it is a fun journey to go on together. So that's a little bit about AI. Let's not be afraid. It's a little bit about how we tackle problems, focusing on the job to be done. The technology is a how, and who we are as a people. And so over the next couple of days, I would like to actually do what we at Notable do all the time, and I ask you to join us on that journey. We sit at the intersection of people and connections. So my ask of everyone here is meet someone like you, meet someone that is very different from you, and share stories, share scars and skills, things that have actually worked, things that haven't, because we're about people connections. Second, we sit at the intersection of that and technology. You're going to get a chance to meet with the best engineering minds. We're actually going to do a tech talk tomorrow, which I encourage you to come with all of your hardest questions for our engineering leaders to learn more about security, AI, scalability, privacy, things that we're actually doing around that, but get to know them. There's operators too that actually come from many health systems. They've run call centers, they've been clinicians, they've actually run care coordination organizations, and you get a chance to learn from them and meet with them. And then lastly, I definitely recommend going to the demo lounge and spending more time there. Because if you take the people connections, you take the most amazing technology and operators, we get the opportunity to redefine what's possible. And as you go through, if you haven't already gone through the demo lounge, I recommend you do. And if you have, think about going back there, potentially with a peer, to actually discover how they've adopted something or not, what's worked, what hasn't. It's really freaking cool, and we're so proud of it and the work that's actually gone into it. Because this journey on transforming this industry is not one we as Notable can do alone. And so if you actually look around you, we didn't want to call this the Notable User Conference. This is Noteworthy. This is our user conference. This is our change-making opportunity to work together and do something that not only is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but really changes people's lives for the better. So welcome. I encourage you to have fun over the next few days. Thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to learn from you all over the next few days. Thank you.